if the thought of singing in public makes your heart race, your hands shake, or your voice crack, I get it. For years, I let fear hold me back until I discovered a secret weapon that completely changed the way I approached singing in public. And in this episode, you will discover what that is so that you can sing confidently in front of others without fear, tension, or self-doubt. Let's dive into it. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm the founder of the Singing Insiders, in which I help passionate singers just like yourself become the best versions of themselves through singing. And what you're going to get throughout these episodes are insights, techniques, tools to really help you up-level your singing skills. So let's look at what this secret weapon is that I discovered that helped me sing in public without feeling self-conscious. Now, I know exactly how it feels to dread singing in front of other people. And this is the irony in this whole situation. Because oftentimes we want to do something like singing in public, but we're scared, so we're dreading it and we're not doing it, but we want it. So it's something that we want, but something that we fear so much. And I remember that I used to think, what if I mess it up? What if I forget my lyrics? What if those people will judge me? What if I will feel shameful? What if I'm just not good enough? All those thoughts circled in my head. And I thought that confidence would come from me becoming a better singer and working on vocal technique, but that was not the problem at all. The real issue was that I just didn't trust my voice. And when we're talking about singing in public, this is a very broad theme. Singing in public could be singing on stage. That's what most people think of when they hear that term. But it could also be sing at a karaoke event, sing at your friend's wedding, sing at home while someone else can hear you. Singing in public is anytime you're sharing your singing with someone else while someone can hear you, whether that's the shower or the stage, okay? So the secret weapon that I found was actually combining different things. I thought that it was all about controlling the voice. That was not true. Because even when I controlled my voice, I still noticed the stress, the nerves, the anxiety which influenced my voice. So that was not the best way to go around it. Really, it's by combining vocal technique and thus vocal control with inner trust, we're going to talk about that, and authentic expression. Let's dive deeper into that. And first, you need to understand why that works, that combination of those three elements, and why most singers struggle without the combination of those three. Because most singers, they believe that confidence comes from just getting over it and then pushing yourself into scary situations. Or, as I said before, that confidence comes from controlling your voice and knowing all the vocal techniques. Now, here's what actually happens when you try to force your way into confidence. First of all, there might be a higher risk for panic. So if you're going on stage and you're thinking, well, I just need to get over it, I just need to do it, because the more I do it, the less nerves I will feel. The more experience I get, so the more confident I will get to do this. The more I do something, the better I'll feel about it. However, if you're going in from that intention and you feel those nerves when you're singing on stage or whatever public context you're singing at, your voice might tighten, you're starting to panic, you might feel like a failure because it didn't go as planned. And what you've done in that moment is proving yourself, or proving that part of yourself that told you in the first place, see, you're not ready yet. And now you've just proven it. Yeah, of course I wasn't ready. I felt nervous. I forgot my lyrics. I freaked out, all those things. So instead of thinking the more I do it, the better I will get, or the less nervous I will get, what we've created now is a negative loop where the more you do it, the worse it becomes, because your brain makes a future, or will think thoughts based on what happened in the past. And if in the past singing in public was a total disaster, then my thoughts will be, well, that means in the future it will be a total disaster again. And guess what you set into motion? So we need to break through that negative cycle here, that vicious cycle. So 3 steps to do that. Step number 1, building up what I like to call your vocal technique backpack. A backpack is something that you have with you all the time, and you can fill it up. And this is a Mary Poppins backpack. We're putting a lot in our backpack. So a vocal technique backpack is basically where you're learning different vocal techniques, like breath support, using your mixed voice, head voice, chest voice, twang, cry, bite, vocal fry, vocal effects, like all those techniques. We're putting all of those into our backpack. And then once you are singing and you notice that you have a difficult part in a song, that is when you can open up your backpack, look at what's available to you, and choose a technique that will help you support you with singing that difficult piece of the song. So imagine that you're having difficulty singing high notes. You might open up your backpack, look at the mixed voice technique, take it out, try it on, notice, oh yeah, that actually helped me. I'll keep it there for now. So it's one thing to put the techniques into your backpack and learn about all the techniques. The next step is to get all those techniques into your muscle memory, so that when you're singing in public, you don't have to be thinking about activating your mixed voice. No, it happens automatically because you have done the work beforehand. You have practiced, which will then lead to trusting your voice, because you know whatever happens, I've done the practice, it's in my muscle memory, so I'll be fine. So that's number 1, building up your vocal technique backpack. And it's a matter of putting techniques in and getting those vocal techniques into your muscle memory. Step number 2 is, besides those vocal techniques that we're putting in our backpack, we're also putting in creative techniques. Let me tell you about those. The creative techniques will allow you to have some kind of parachute when you're on stage or when you're singing in public. So what does a parachute do? A parachute will make sure that you land safely when you're jumping out of a plane, right? These creative techniques, we want to be developing them as well, because then when you're singing in public and you find yourself in a tricky situation, you can just decide, oh, no worries, I'll just open up my parachute, which again leads to more trust in your abilities to perform. Let me give you an example. Improvisation is one of those parachutes. What is improvisation? We're not going to do a deep dive improvisation training here, but improvisation is basically having the ability to sing anything you want at any point in time to any piece of music. So oftentimes it comes from jazz, where they're scatting. Now I'm scatting. I'm improvising. Now improvisation can also be done in pop music, where maybe you're using different sounds. An O or an A or a yeah instead of the actual jazz scat syllables. Now, improvisation is the ability to sing on the spot something that was not rehearsed and you're feeling great doing it. The first time that I was asked to improvise, I completely froze. I remember that we went into, like, it was one turn after the other. So first it was the guitarist, then it was the bass that I had to improvise for 8 bars, and then it was my turn. And I remember sitting there in that room with all those other musicians, and nothing came out. And before I knew it, my 8 bars were over. And then the drummer had to take his 8 bars, for example. Nothing came out at that point because I did not practice those skills and I did not have my parachute. I did not have those creative techniques in my backpack. Improvisation, just like singing, is actually something you can learn. And there are techniques that you can learn to help you with that, help you do it. This is just one parachute that we talked about. There are many more. I'm thinking about storytelling. I'm thinking about emotions in a song. I'm thinking about vocalese. There are so many parachutes that we can pull out. Because imagine that you're singing in public and you forget your lyric, for example. Well, that's not a problem anymore when you can improvise, right? Because you're not scared of, oh, I don't know what to sing. No, you know that whatever comes out will fit. Does that make sense? So improvising is one of the parachutes. And the more parachutes you have in your backpack, let's continue the backpack metaphor, the more confident you will feel when singing in public. I hope that makes sense. So in our backpack, we have our vocal techniques and we have our parachutes. Now, if this was super valuable for you so far, my invitation to you is to subscribe to this channel so that you will be the first one updated when new episodes just like this one come out. Now, we still have to go one step further. There's 3 steps to this process, to this secret weapon that I told you about. The first one, vocal techniques. Second one, the creative techniques so that you can authentically express yourself and be confident about that, about who you are as a person, as a singer, as an artist, as a creative. The third step is all about trusting your voice and trusting yourself. Trusting your ability. So when we're singing in public, and we feel nerves or performance anxiety, our brain sees that situation as a threat. So our amygdala fires and it sees singing in public as a threat. What we need to do in that situation is tell our brain, or the part of our brain, our amygdala, that singing in public is actually not a threat. How do we do that? We're not going to communicate with thinking because our brain will just not receive that. So we're going to use our body to communicate to our brain. So what happens? Singing in public, my brain sees that as threat. My brain will communicate to my body, get ready to run away, to fight this threat, or to freeze and play dead. So it's gonna rush more blood to my legs so that I can run away or hide my cortisol levels, right? That's how my body reacts. And that's where you're feeling the shaky hands, the sweating, the tunnel vision, the dry mouth. Those are all the symptoms of my brain seeing a threat. Now I need to communicate with my body to my brain that this is not a threat. How do we do that? By regulating our nervous system. We need to regulate our nervous system so that our brain understands, oh, we're safe. This is not a threat. Does that make sense? So that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is helping our brain understand that this is not a threat in the first place. And that's where we can go down into our root and core beliefs. Because why does it see singing in public as a threat? Maybe in the past, you might have been laughed at when you did something in public. Maybe as a 6-year-old, you had to give a presentation at your school, and it was such a horrible experience that you felt shame because your classmates were laughing at you. I don't know. And thus, this is a lesson, an experience that you take with you, and our brain make it mean that doing something in public is a threat. So we need to look at those core causes, those core beliefs. So one side is nervous system regulation, and the other side is core belief work. And that together will help you trust yourself, trust your voice, and cultivate the confidence that we're after as singers. That was step number 3. Remember, this in combination with building up your vocal technique backpack so that your voice does what it has to do, plus that creative expression, being able to use those parachutes to help you when you're singing in public. Those 3 elements together, that is your secret weapon. Your secret weapon to sing in public without feeling self-conscious. Now you might be saying, okay, I get the theory. I'm with you, Maggie. How do I do that? Like, what are the steps? How can I get started with this? Well, that's exactly what I call the vocal freedom method. And I have another episode linked up after this one that will walk you through it step by step. It will give you the path to vocal freedom so that you can sing in public without being self-conscious. So click the link below, click wherever here on the screen to go to that episode next, and I'll see you there. Talk soon. Bye.